With the number one pick in the NFL draft clearly in their crosshairs, the Jets make another big decision to make sure the tank is a full speed ahead operation. I'm Glenn Naughton with Jet Nation Radio and JetNation.com. Be sure to log into JetNation.com where you can register and become a part of what is the most active Jets message board on the web. So I was planning on popping on to take a little bit of a deeper look at yesterday's trades. And what do I see come across the timeline? One day after trading Quinnen Williams away to the Dallas Cowboys, Quincy Williams, brother of Quinnen, all pro linebacker, has told the media that it has been explained to him by the Jets and his coaches that he is not playing well enough to keep his starting job, no longer a starting linebacker for the New York Jets. That is absurd. I am Glenn Naughton with Jet Nation Radio and JetNation.com. Be sure to log into JetNation.com where you can register and become a part of what is the most active Jets message board on the web. Quincy Williams ain't the problem, folks. I mean, I think when you're giving up, 35 points on a fairly consistent basis, 30 points on a fairly consistent basis, most of which Quincy Williams hasn't been on the field for because of his shoulder injury earlier in the year. He ain't the reason. Quincy Williams is not the reason why this team is giving up all the points they do. I know I picked him to have a big year. I thought they were going to, I said he was going to have a breakout year. I said double-digit sacks. I think if he had stayed healthy and the team was competitive, that was still a thing. He's got what I think his career high is like 2. And this year he's, in 4 games, he's got 1.5 and 5 or 6 QB hits or 4 QB hits. So if he was playing every week and they weren't, as bad as they are, either way, that's obviously not going to happen now. I'll take that one on the chin. But, the Andre Cisco thing, those were my 2 breakout guys. And I'm not going to give myself a pass on those. But with Cisco, it was more just he wasn't getting the job done. In the case of Quincy, I think this is the team. He missed time, obviously. So he probably wasn't going to hit 10 sacks with the games missed. But to bench him now, and I wouldn't be surprised if we find out that there was some unpleasantries behind the scenes once they traded Quinnen, because Quincy probably wanted to leave too. Because this team is bad. He's got 1 year left on his deal. So we saw that he tweeted out the shrug shoulders, one of the shrug shoulders emoji or the palms up emoji after the Quinnen trade. Like, okay, what now? What happens with me? And one day later, he has lost his starting job. I mean, to have a player of his caliber, even if you say he slipped off a little bit last year, the guy was an all-pro player 2 years ago. You couldn't get a 7 for him? You don't think, with all the injuries they have on defense in San Francisco, that you don't think if they would have called them up and said, hey, tell Robert Saleh he can have Quincy for a 6? You don't think he would have been in John Lynch's office begging him to pull the trigger on that move? So you get nothing for him, by benching him. I mean, comp picks aren't really going to be a thing for the Jets this year or, next year. So if, hypothetically, if they had let Breece walk, which, that's up in the air now, the fact that they held on to him at the deadline, I understand they feel his value is a 3. But if you have a guy whose value is a 3 in a lost season and he's about to be a free agent, take the 4. Get something for him, because you're not getting a comp pick, because you're going to have $1 trillion in cap space, and you're going to be you got to find somebody to replace Quinnen Williams. You got to find somebody to replace Sauce Gardner. Some of that stuff will be draft picks, some of it will be free agency, but you better believe the Jets are going to be very active in free agency, which means no comp picks. So Quincy will now go without a comp pick. All-pro linebacker 2 years ago, you're going to let him walk and get nothing in return. I mean, that's I don't know. Dumb. How about we'll just go with dumb? That's dumb. Quinnen Williams in his time as a Jet. 33-73. That was the team's record. 33-73. Apparently went to the team. And I said this yesterday when I went live after the trades rolled in and I woke up. I said that maybe, perhaps behind the scenes, we don't know this, but maybe Quinnen asked for a deal. Maybe Quinnen wanted to go. 33-73 can't be a whole lot of fun. and this team is going nowhere fast. And they're going, I mean, now they're kind of in reverse, right? Like you looked at the Cincinnati game, you look at the schedule, you're like, wow, they're kind of, if they do clean up the tackling, even though it was bad against Cincy, but if they clean up the tackling and tighten things up a little, there's some weaker teams on the schedule. Maybe they win 4 games, which wouldn't be great for draft position, but it's still 4 wins. It's still 4 Sundays. You maybe get to see them outperform another team. You remove the single biggest factor by a wide margin in being able to stop the run in Quinnen Williams. You remove the corner who does a better job than most in the NFL at taking away number one wide receiver. Take those guys out of the equation and then bench your all-pro linebacker. I don't think winning games is going to be a problem moving forward. I think this is the Jets realizing we've got a shot at this number one pick, and we're not gonna let this slip away. And here's the interesting thing: what happens with these picks in the future remains to be seen. But there's some talk now, and I understand where it's coming from. I posted yesterday, even though I don't think he's coming out in the draft. I don't think we're going to see Arch come out, Arch Manning. But as I said, if you watch him at Texas the last couple weeks, he appears, and we'll see if it sticks. But he appears to have turned a corner. He's looked much better the last couple weeks than he had all season. So it's like, okay, if Arch has, quote unquote, arrived, he's back in the conversation as QB1 next year, probably not coming out this year. Is that where the Jets are looking? Are the Jets okay with winning another 4 or 5 games next year as they go into that year with 3 first-rounders and target Arch Manning the following season? And if that's the case, are they going to be up for trading out of the first pick if they have it? I mean, call me crazy if you want. What is it? October 6th, right? I think that this team, well, I think it's still the 5th in the States. It's like 3 a.m. here. But if they're eyeballing 2027, where this is supposedly a much deeper draft class, deeper at quarterback, could the Jets sit back with that first pick, maybe the second pick? I think it'll be the first pick. Are they going to sit back and say, you know what? We don't love any of these quarterbacks. We don't feel like any of these guys are the one you build around for the future. We're eyeing 2027 and Arch Manning. And let's go ahead and let's get into the business of moving down. Let's trade that one and get another one for next year. Couple of 2s this year. Something along those lines. Because look, it's a trove of picks. It's, if nothing else, if the Jets are going to, I mean, they stink this year. They're probably going to stink next year. If that's going to be the case, we're at least going to get to enjoy ourselves as Jets fans at draft time, which is really the only time we do get to enjoy ourselves. We should just be like an NFL draft fan at this point, because that's more fun than the Jets has been for a while, even though, the coaches we rarely see them get the most out of these players. And that's, to me as a Jets fan, that's the most difficult part of the Quinnen and Sauce deals, is that when we saw what they did early in their career, when it was clear pretty quickly they were going to be among the elite at their positions, you had every reason to believe, like, okay, this is where the turnaround starts. Like, we now have these guys who are among the best in the NFL at their spots. Talk about young guys to build around. And you could feel good about that. You could say, look, we suck right now, but Quinnen Williams has, evolved into one of the best DTs in the NFL. Look at what young Garrett Wilson is doing. Look at what young Breece Hall is doing. Look at what Sauce Gardner is doing. And you look at these guys and you're like, okay, we suck, but it's going to get better moving forward. Here we are, 2-3 years later. Quinnen gone, Sauce gone. Don't worry, we've got draft picks, and we're going to find really good players and build around them. I thought was, and excuse me, I get that, people are saying, oh, well, without a quarterback, this, that, and the other. And this is why I wonder how the Jets feel truly about this year's upcoming QB class. Because in my mind, if you're looking at this class and thinking there's a guy in this group that can turn our franchise around, then why worry about the picks, and why worry about trading Sauce and Quinnen? Those are the guys you build around if you have a quarterback, right? I've seen a couple people say, oh, well, they don't have a quarterback, so why not trade them? then are we assuming then that they don't believe they can get one? Because in a few months, they're going to be sitting atop the draft board with quarterbacks on the board to take. And if they take that guy, if they take any of these quarterbacks, and that quarterback is really good right out of the gate, you just traded away your best pieces on defense. And now you're going to be sitting there scoring points and losing games, you know, 35-28. Oh, fantastic. I mean, I guess it would be nice that they would be entertaining and losing, but you're still going to be losing if you dismantle your defense. And Darren Muji, look, I get the GMs and coaches like 100% of the time, or well, not quite 100, but nearly. I get that they're lying and it's they're just sort of throwing out, give the fans what they want. Let's do a presser. Let's say some things without saying any things, and certainly nothing that's true. To say this isn't a teardown, look at this. Look at the roster Darren Muji took over, and look at the roster the Jets have now. You've torn it down, and you're the GM. That's take your plan and implement it by all means, and let's all hope it works. But to say we cut Aaron Rodgers, we cut Devontae Adams, we traded Quinnen Williams, we traded Sauce Gardner, but this is not a teardown, and the goal is still to try to win every Sunday. And by the way, we're benching Quincy Williams too. Like you're no longer trying to win, and that's fine. I mean, you got to get the quarterback. We get that. But you don't listen, if this were not the Jets, for anyone who thinks that I'm wrong on this, if this were any other team and a Jets fan were watching from afar and a new GM came in and dumped the starting quarterback, dumped wide receiver, one or two, depending on where you would class Devontae. Is he one or two when Aaron's on the roster? That's a moot point. Either way, you had Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, and then you dump two of those three. Now all you've got is a wide receiver one. You trade CB1, who, as I said the other day, only cornerback in the NFL to hold opposing quarterbacks under 50% completion percentage while allowing 10 or fewer targets. Get mad at Sauce all you want. The dude is a baller. So you get rid of CB1, you get rid of DT1, you dump the QB, you dump one of your two receivers, and then you're like, not a teardown, not a teardown. We're still doing everything we can to win. It's not true. And, I put it on the message boards at JetNation just for folks to chop it up and share their thoughts. And there were a couple people like, oh, I guess you think general managers tell the truth. I don't. But when they lie that blatantly, it's like, hey, can we make fun a little bit? Can we kind of sit back and laugh at the fact that this dude expects us to believe that by dumping many of his best players, that this is not, that this is not a teardown? It clearly is. And you know what? Build it all up and everybody's happy. So it's a weird thing to me that, my God, if they hit on a quarterback, which God hope they do, but if they hit on a quarterback next year, but then Quincy will be gone, Quincy, Quinnen, and Sauce all gone. I mean, those were three of your biggest playmakers on defense. And I'm not, I know everyone, all the Sauce haters, he doesn't intercept the ball. Great. The guy he's covering gets 20 yards. Sauce Gardner has given up 4 touchdowns in his life. He doesn't give up touchdowns, and he doesn't give up catches. He has penalties. You think I'm worried about 4 penalties when the dude is holding the opposing receiver to 20 yards? Oh, no. He gets flagged every 2 or 3 weeks. Who cares if the other, 185 plays over that span? Who cares if he only gave up 30 yards receiving? People get sad and upset over the dumbest. Listen, if he's a perennial penalty guy and he can't cover anyone, that's a problem. If you're going to hold the other receiver to 25 yards and no touchdowns, I'll spot you a penalty. Go ahead. Oh, you got a 20. Okay, so you gave up 50 yards and no touchdowns. Like, it's the NFL. Guys are going to get their yards. That's sort of the standard that people have put on Sauce Gardner. And you saw it sometimes with Revis near the end when he would give up yards. Oh, this guy sucks. I blame Madden. I totally blame Madden. Dude, I play Madden all the time. My top corner never gives up anything. How come these guys can't do it? Oh, I traded this guy for 15 first-round picks. Why don't the Jets do that? Fantasy football and Madden has completely destroyed the way people view the game. If you have a corner who gets a flag every 2 or 3 weeks, but consistently holds opposing receivers under 30 yards, under 40 yards, and keeps them out of the end zone, job done. Like that's why you give up 2 ones for that guy. Unbelievable. Real quick, my info, how we doing? Says this is a 2-year tank. This is kind of what I'm thinking, my info. If I was them, I would get a wide receiver 2 and then take a QB in the late rounds. Well, I think if they don't take a quarterback in the first round this year, I think they do take one later. Especially with multiple twos and grab somebody else because you got to do something to get the fan base a little bit excited. You just raise ticket prices. Woody Johnson just sent you a bill, many of you with a significant increase in ticket prices, and then he jettisons 2 of your best defenders. Yeah, I can't imagine that went over well for a lot of folks. And why would it? Why wouldn't you be upset about that? Unbelievable. Mike Slane, he doesn't take away the ball. Yeah, like he doesn't. But when you play, look at the Panthers, right? They have a winning record now, if I'm not mistaken. But you look at when they play well, like Tedero McMillan is a rookie who is in that range to put up 1,000 yards as a rookie. I think Sauce allowed either one catch or no catches to Tedero McMillan, who's routinely putting up solid numbers. We saw what he did with DK Metcalf. Denver. You don't think Sauce is a big part of Denver only putting up 13 points or whatever? So it's as frustrating as it's been that Sauce doesn't put up the numbers on the stat sheet that the splash plays. But if you're taking the other team's number one receiver out of the game, that's an impact play. That's an impact performance, let's say. It changes everything the offense has to do when they have to say, all right, we don't have our number one receiver today. That's huge in today's NFL. Let's see. RPM Red says, I hate the lies. They knew since letting go of Aaron and signing Fields, it was a rebuild. Yeah, it was, but they hadn't torn it completely down. Look, there's still obviously still some solid players. But when you dump Sauce and Quinnen and bench Quincy, that's just like we are okay with giving up 35 a week. Listen, this week I don't want to look like an idiot and have Dylan Gabriel light it up, but let's just say Dylan Gabriel has not been good at all. Like this defense without Quinn and without Sauce, that should be okay. You should be able to slow Dylan Gabriel down. Quinshon Judkins, on the other hand, running the ball up the middle with no Quincy or no Quinnen and no Quincy, that could get interesting. Might be a big day in store for Quinshon Judkins. We will have the pregame posted tomorrow. Let's see. We let our best defensive players go. Jets' goal is not winning. Yeah, it certainly doesn't appear that way. Mike Slane says, right now, which QB would you take? Digging into them more on film, if I had to say right now today who I take, I like what I've seen from Ty Simpson. I haven't watched a ton of him because I've been focusing a lot on other players. I like to start with the lesser known guys when I'm doing my because the major guys you're gonna hear about them until the cows come home. So every year I kind of start with the lower level guys that I know aren't going to be those top of the draft players. But I have watched all of the quarterbacks a little bit, not quite enough to say this is the guy that I would really go with. But I like Mendoza a lot. Liked him, prior to Indiana. Cannon for an arm. Doesn't have elite mobility, but has good enough mobility. Same as Ty Simpson. Ty Simpson is not, neither of them can run like Lenora Sellers can, but they're both much better passers. So right now I would say it's between Mendoza and Simpson, but that's like super, super early. We've still got months of watching these guys, see how they perform in the college football playoffs is going to be huge. Big spot, bright lights and all that stuff. See how that goes down. So there's a lot more to watch, but if I had to pick today, I would say Mendoza, with Simpson being a close second. Those are my two top guys right now. Lenora Sellers has been pretty disappointing. I thought he was going to have a really big year, or I thought from what he showed last year that if he took the next step, he could enter that conversation as a first round guy. Taylon Green is sort of a day three. I think that's where it's a little interesting for the Jets is the early day three guys. If they're not going to take a quarterback early, are they going to take someone as a developmental guy? Look, I love Brady Cook. I hope he gets reps before the year is out. He really should get some reps before the year is out because you're kind of, throwing the season away at this point. I mean, not throwing, obviously the season was over, but you're not even pretending that you're trying at this point. So why not give him a look? Um, but I think that a guy like Taylon Green on day 3, Castellanos, who might even be Castellanos could go undrafted, the FSU quarterback, but he's got a big arm, has put up big numbers for Florida State throwing the ball down the field this year. Electric runner, really good runner, the type of thing the Jets will be looking for. So there are a few guys in that mix, the Taylon Greens and Castellanos of the world. Taylon Green, I think, goes back to school though. Like, he should still have eligibility left, and I think he has the ability to move up draft boards. But what does this mean now? Obviously, with Quinnen gone, in terms of what it means for the Jets, for the guys stepping in for them. We've said all year that Juwan Briggs has looked really impressive on film. I think he's now one of your starters, and he'll see a significant uptick in reps. So now Juwan Briggs will get to show what he can do, and maybe solidify himself as a starter. Moving forward, you included Mozzie Smith in the deal with Dallas. He's another big guy, 330, 335, strong as a bull. Talked about that after the trade the other day. I remember his pre-draft stuff, some of the stuff that he was doing in the weight room at Michigan. Absolute monsters on the inside. He's just been a disappointment so far. Can the Jets develop him to the point of being a functional DT? We'll see. But look, when you're on a team that's tanking, you can give reps to guys who aren't very good to see if they can develop. Dean Clark at safety. They've finally put Andre Sisco on IR, officially out for the year. The undrafted free agent of Fresno State, Dean Clark, gets the call, or gets signed to the active roster. Give him some reps. I mean, if ever there was a time, we talk, we have a lot of practice, don't we, Jets fans, about talking about what the team should do when they stink. Oh, well, they stink, so just do this. They stink, so just do that. And I always say, man, give guys reps. If the players you have aren't getting it done and they're not part of your future, then play the young guys, which is kind of what they are doing with Quincy if they don't view him as part of the future. I thought Quincy was a guy who, if he played well enough, they would entertain bringing back. I thought he could be part of the future. But I would imagine with the trading of Quinnen that he wasn't happy, and now he's not part of the future. So, so he goes. But when you have guys around who could be a part, who could be a long-term answer, whether it's as a starter or a backup, if it's a Dean Clark, get him on the field. Get some of these young dudes on the field. Tyler Barron, get him on the field. See what these kids can do. As far as corner, with Sauce being gone, we know AC Thomas is going to step in now. He'll be that starter opposite Brandon Stevens. And then you're going to have, Quantez Stiggers on that depth chart, another young guy who hasn't seen a lot of reps, has impressed a little bit when he does. But let's get him on the field. Like, play these dudes. Play them on the way to the tank, on the way to pick number 1. But that, to me, remains the biggest question from now until the 2027 draft is, do the New York Jets view this class as having a quarterback worthy of taking in the top 3? And if not, are they going to tank and then try to deal that pick and parlay it into further assets in 2027? Because you've already got 3 ones in this class where you've got some incredible talent at quarterback and elsewhere. If you're Darren Muji, you're saying, you know what? We don't think Mendoza. We don't think Simpson. We don't think any of these guys are the answer at quarterback. So we're going to sit back with the number 1 pick. We're going to wait for the calls to come in. We're going to get another ransom and rack up the 2027 picks. And then we're going to go to battle from there. I think it's a fair question. I think that the willingness to dismantle the defense when you have 9 NFL football games left before you're going to have an opportunity to pick up a quarterback who you believe can turn your franchise around. If that is what you believe. Do you really believe that if you've dumped 2 of your best defensive players, which will make it far more difficult for your young quarterback to turn things around if you can't stop anybody? And look, it's like I said, the Jets, they're going to draft guys. They're going to maybe they find adequate replacements. Like, you're not finding another Quinnen Williams. The odds of landing another top 5 DT, very slim. The odds of landing another corner and on the caliber of Sauce Gardner, extremely slim, extremely unlikely. But here's the thing. I guarantee you, if the corner they replace Sauce with, gives up 4, 5, 6 touchdown passes a year, but gets 3 interceptions, people are going to be like, look, So much better than Sauce. He gets interceptions. Right. But he also gave up 5, 6 touchdowns. Sauce routinely would give up 1. This year he's given up 2. But again, it's Madden, it's fantasy. If you can get me fantasy points, that's more important than your impact on the actual football games. If you can get me 3 interceptions, I'm fine with you giving up 6 touchdowns. If you give up 1 touchdown, 2 touchdowns, but no interceptions, that's not good. We don't need that. How does that help me? And how does it look? I lost again this week in my fantasy league. So yeah, this isn't to say the guys they replace Sauce and Quinnen with won't be good, but I feel pretty good saying they're both going to be downgrades. And if Darren Muji can just go out and find another top 5-10 corner, another top 5-10 DT, I mean, I would say top 5 in both, honestly. If you can just go out and say I'm gonna pluck a top 5 DT, top 5 corner, then the Jets have the best general manager in the NFL, and I'm not worried anymore. So that's basically where the Jets are right now. Offloaded some major talent, still need a quarterback. What else is new? And the big question is going to be, when do they go after that quarterback? Is it something they pursue this year, or do they put the rebuild off one more season? Another, let that playoff drought hit 16 years before they're ready to really attack and get after it with their 2027 haul of picks, which as of right now is insane, but would be even more so if the plan is to take those picks or to take this year's picks, parlay them into more, not yet take a quarterback, and just have Jets fans understand you're going to have to take another year of bad football before we're ready. But when we are ready, I mean, honestly, would you hate that? Would you hate if they made a trade on draft day and you look at their 2027 picks and they're sitting there with 4 or 5 ones, 4 or 5 twos? Like literally 8, 9, 10 picks in the top 60, I would have no problem with that. I mean, look, Muji, let's give Muji's credit. Like, he's done some really good things here. The results have not followed, but I think we've seen that before with general managers who have done really good things and we've not seen the wins. But, I mentioned Briggs. Jarvis Brownlee's done a really nice job. The rookie draft class has been really good outside of a couple of guys. We've seen what Mason Taylor's done. Armand Membu solidified himself as a very good starter already as a rookie. So we're seeing things from this rookie class. Francisco Maui-Noah, he's going to be the guy taking over for Quincy Williams. Like, we're seeing some really good things from this rookie class. So we should be encouraged by what we've seen from Muji. I've seen a few people say, would you trust this regime with picks? I don't have a reason not to yet. They've had one draft and it looks really good. So let's give credit where it's due in that regard. And that's what would make me kind of not hit the panic button. If they decide to go through another terrible year of football next year. Jonathan says, we're trading for Cam Ward. Well, I mean, Tennessee's not trading Cam Ward. They just took him 1 overall. Now, it'd be interesting if I mean, the answer to that would be no, because they're not going to give him away, and I don't think the Jets are going to be willing to give up a ton of picks for. And Cam Ward hasn't been very good this year, and I say that as a huge Cam Ward guy. But he's had some moments, though. He's had some moments where his receivers have let him down, and he's played really well. So Cam Ward has shown some ability. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think they're going to trade for a quarterback. Not a notable one anyway. That's another conversation that's been taking place on Twitter, and I saw Damian Woody tweeted about it. I don't go through the 32 teams. Tell me which team of the 32 in the NFL, minus the Jets, of the 31 other teams, who has a good starting quarterback that you think they'd be willing to trade. I feel like any quarterback that a team is willing to give up isn't the guy you want. You want an elite franchise guy to build around, and teams don't trade those. And don't tell me Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow, I saw that name floated a couple times. I don't know what people are on. Would you honestly give up like the 4 or 5 or 6 first-round picks required to trade for a guy who misses every other season? Jesus, I've seen several people float that name. Well, if it was Joe Burrow, and I'm just, did you become a Jets fan 10 minutes ago? I don't even know where to begin with that. I don't even know where to begin with, maybe should they go get Joe Burrow? Do you not remember Aaron Rodgers and his damn Achilles? And he's less injury prone than Burrow. Jonathan says Deshaun Deneau. No, I don't see that at all. Aaron Glenn has made it clear that was part of the reason Aaron Rodgers was let go. He doesn't want quote unquote celebrity quarterbacks. He doesn't want guys who bring drama, cameras, distractions. And Deshaun, I mean, and when when is the last time he played? Yeah, just either way, it doesn't matter. I don't see Aaron Glenn going out and getting a quarterback where it's going to take attention off of football and off of the team, and it's going to become something else. It's going to become one huge distraction. And we heard Aaron Rodgers say it, and Aaron Glenn did not deny it. Aaron Glenn said, or Aaron Rodgers said, that Aaron Glenn sat him down and said, "We're going in a different direction. I can't be standing at the front of the room talking and having guys looking at you. Right? You're going to be a distraction to the team. I need to be the guy, and your sort of celebrity status and icon status is going to take away from the attention that I want as the head coach when I'm coaching, when I'm speaking." So I don't think that was again the fact that Aaron Glenn didn't say no, that's ridiculous, that didn't happen. I don't. I mean, you can say what you want about Aaron Rodgers. I don't trust Aaron Rodgers. Well, I mean, he said a thing, and Aaron Glenn did not. He had the opportunity to say, that wasn't the case, and then just move on, but he didn't. Wild Wave, how we doing? We are about to roll out of here. Hope you've been there the whole time. If you just hopped in and missed what I had to say and you want to check back and listen, go ahead and do just that. It'll be up on YouTube momentarily. I know we're live right now. And give it a listen. Check it out. Have a good one, Jets fans. Tomorrow we will be dropping the game preview with Aaron Walling, lifelong Browns fan, good friend of mine who is working up the sports radio at KVRR up in Fargo, North Dakota. Fantastic movie. Aaron says not a big deal out there. Not a lot of talk on the Fargo movie out in Fargo. If you haven't seen it, Steve Buscemi, some of his best work, some dark stuff, and all true. Murder, mystery, all that, gore, a little bit of gore. But if you have not seen Fargo and you like a good movie based on a true story with people getting hacked up and lots of families paying to have family members murdered, good movie. Check it out. Have a good one, Jets fans. Check out Fargo.